Hi
Okay,
there. Welcome, everyone. My name's Kevin Vaught, and next to me is my best buddy, Joe Marconi. We're
everyone.
here to see if we can give you some information of where you can make a legitimate decision, an informed decision about whether you should be in the tire business or not. Kind of want to do a little quick introduction about myself and Joe first. I'm sure you guys probably already know Joe. He's kind of an industry icon. He was a speaker, a keynote speaker for Ratchet and Wrench. What's it been, 3 years ago, Joe?
Yes, 3-4 years ago. And
3 years
again
ago,
this year too.
and again this year, he's going to be the keynote speaker. Joe, you were original contributor as a writer with Ratchet and Wrench since day one.
Yep.
So Joe is an industry icon. Just congratulations on him. He just sold his business after 40 some years in business. He just sold it completely in December. So now him and I are, we got more time to talk and cure the world problems, right, Joe?
Oh yeah. Hopefully.
A little bit about myself. I've kind of been associated with the tire business or the tire industry in some form or fashion since I was 15. I started working for Goodyear when I was 15 years old. I ended up buying the store that I owned at 22, and then built it to multiple locations and retired. And my son now owns 2 locations, and my oldest son is an executive vice president for Michelin. So I still have a lot of ties to the tire industry. As I said earlier, we're not here to make you tire experts in any way, shape, or form. We're hoping we're give you enough information to where you can sit down and make a very informed decision on whether getting in the tire business is the right thing for you.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a kind of a brief presentation and go through some things, and Joe and I will be discussing along the way. And then if you would, you can use the chat button and ask questions along the way. If it's something that's pertinent or very important, Joe will stop me and we'll ask the question right in there.
Yeah.
Sure. And if it can wait till the end, we're going to hold a complete session at the end of this meeting. We're going to have a lot of Q&A session. We can answer a lot of your questions.
Kevin, can I just piggyback on something?
Absolutely.
Kevin?
Please, you jump in anytime you want, buddy.
Because it's important that the audience understands that you were always in the tire business, you know, which is good. But you did service and repairs also. I was always the traditional automotive repair shop, you know.
Got in tire business.
Yeah, got into the tire business, and it used. Well, we did New York State inspections too. So, and years ago when I first started, if you failed for tires, I would literally tell you, go to the tire shop, come back, and I'll put the sticker on your car. But then in the 90s, I said, well, I can't send my customers away. So in the 90s, especially toward the middle to late 90s, I got heavily involved with tires, and I partnered up with a lot of different warehouses to get deliveries, you know. So tires, and that was important then, but as you're going to, I know you're going to bring this out, Kevin, it's so critical now with EVs and hybrids. It's so important. So so I just want to make the audience know that those two we come from 2 different, kind of the same business, but a little bit different backgrounds. How we start, 2 backgrounds. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Joe, to your point about that, I hear people all the time, or hear clients occasionally say, well, Kevin, I'm not seeing what we used to call the gravy work, so to speak, the maintenance items, the brakes and stuff like that. And I said, are you selling tires? No, we send them down the street to Mavis or whatever. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, they're getting all the gravy and sending the junk back to you.
Yeah, they get the gravy, the front end work, the tie rods, the control arms, the calipers. They're
getting all that.
Shocks,
what we call gravy work, and they're sending it all. And I know this because that's what I did. we took all the gravy and the hard stuff. We sent down to people like Joe.
Thank you.
You're welcome. At any rate, this isn't to convince you one way or the other. Honestly, I think Joe agrees with me. It's very important that that you do add tires as part of your mix if you can. We're going to give you some suggestions and things that might keep you from being able to do that. But the important thing is, and I'm going to go through a small presentation here. The important thing is that we don't want to send our customers down the road for anything.
Yeah.
I think Joe and I talked about this before. There was times back in the 90s that heck, we'd send them down the road for oil changes. Don't go to the quick lube. We don't want. But today, you just can't do that.
No.
You know what? Today, Joe was telling me about, he read an article this morning, but I've been using this term for the last 2 years, that tire rotations is the new oil change. That's what's going to get people back into your shop, is the tire rotation. You know, we used to see people Well, I think the official average was 4.2 times a year. It was as little as 6 or 7 years ago, because we
Yeah.
saw oil changes every 3,000 miles, 12,000 miles a year driving. We see them 4 times a year.
Yeah.
Today, we're seeing them we're seeing them 1.9 is the official time, but if we're lucky.
Yeah, but you're lucky in some cases seeing one time a year for a service,
Absolutely. So that's why tire rotations, or being in the tire business, because you can offer the tire rotation, is really, really important. So let me, if you'll bear with me here, I'll share my screen and we'll get going on the small presentation. Like I said, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat box. But at the end of this presentation, we will spend some time answering some questions for you, okay? So bear with me a second. Let me share my screen and we'll be ready to go. There we go. Joe, can you see it okay?
Yep, looks good.
Perfect. So the question today is, should you be selling tires? First of all, I want to go through, this is who we are. For those of you that don't know Elite or who we are, we're a company that lives by the principle of never putting money ahead of people. Simple, simple, simple. We're all about people. So that's our philosophy. That's who we are. This is our mission statement. Our mission is to use the team of top experts in America to help automotive professionals reach their goals and live happier lives while elevating the industry that we love so much. This mission will be accomplished without ever compromising our ethics or the trust that is placed in us. We truly live by this mission statement.
We really do.
Again, I gave you a little bit background about myself. I'm a member of the executive council of Elite. I'm also a business development coach. I still have several clients. My primary responsibility outside of my clients is to help the coaches any way I can help the coaches. Kind of like the coach's coach. I'm here just to help the coaches. I train all the new coaches that come on, but the biggest thing is I'm just here to support the coach and the client any way I can do it. I'll give you a little bit of background about Joe as well. He's also executive council member of Elite. He still has a couple of clients that he works with. Joe's primary goal with Joe and I do a lot of things behind the scenes, but his primary goal with the coaching program is that he is the one that collaborates with the coaches and the clients and builds the goal achievement plans that are special to Elite's coaching program. So that's his primary role. He also, we do this together, but Joe's the leader of this. He also presents the industry acclaimed Fly with the Eagles course, which I'm going to give you a brief description about what that's about toward the end. And again, both of us are just here to support the coaches any way we can support them and support the client any way we can support them. Okay, benefits of selling tires. I've kind of put together some pros and cons. And this obviously doesn't encompass everything, but I just kind of put together some of the things that I think that are the pros of selling, the benefits of selling tires. First of all, I think it's the right thing to do for a customer. What I mean by that is that we're always, we always believe that the customer ought to be aware of everything that's going on with their vehicle, and we need to make sure that their vehicle's safe. And if we're not looking at tires because we don't sell them or we're not in that business, then I think that we're not doing the right thing by the customer. So number one, I think it's the right thing to do for a customer. Number two, it truly takes a minimum level of investment in equipment. Now you can go out and buy $20,000, $30,000 of equipment, but you can also get into a pretty decent tire changer and tire balance for under $10,000. Wouldn't you say, Joe? Very easily under $10,000.
Yeah, and there are probably a lot of shops out there right now that have the basic equipment and the know-how and knowledge to do it.
Good point, Joe. That's a great point too. So, but it is a pretty minimal investment for the return. Increases customer visits. Goes back to what we were just talking about.
Without a doubt.
It's very simple. One of Joe's pet peeves is that we set the next appointment. I've heard Joe talk about this in one seminar. I've heard about 1 million seminars. But this is a really easy way to do that because we're not basing anything on mileage at this point. We're saying, hey, we need to see you in 6 months so we can rotate your tires. Right? So even if there's not service going to be needed in 6 months, we do need to see them to rotate their tires. So that's why I say it's the new oil change of today, because that's how we're going to get that customer back to see us.
And once those tires are off, right, Kevin? What do you do?
Pardon me?
Once those tires are off the car,
that's the secret.
Opportunity.
That's the whole secret. That I'm going to show you here in a few minutes that you can make money selling tires, but the most important thing is it exposes that vehicle to you in a way that you don't get all the time. Oil change, unless you've got a customer's approval, you don't get to take the wheels and tires off that car. Rotating the tires, that's part of the process. You've got the brakes exposed to you, the suspension exposed to you. So yeah, Joe, thanks for that. Good point. Keeps customers from going elsewhere. Again, something we discussed early on. You know, if you're sending your tires down the road, you're taking a chance of losing that customer. In a minute, I'm going to show you the statistics that back this up. So keep customers from going elsewhere. When I worked for Goodyear, I'm not sure it's a proper term, but when I worked for Goodyear, this has been many years ago, but it was the statement was, if you own the tires, you own the customer. That was Goodyear's belief. If you sold the tires to a customer, you generally had a customer for life. Now, obviously, other things enter into that, but that was just their quick term. Today, there's no.
Kevin, can I make
Absolutely.
one point on that?
Jump in, please, anytime.
This point right here is so key. And let me revert back to what I said earlier about one of the reasons why I got into tires is because I knew my customer needed tires, or I kind of ignored it at times. But when they came in with a set of Goodyears from the Mavis up the corner, I says, why did you go? You know, you're bringing me the check engine light. I appreciate. You're bringing me the drivability problem. You're bringing me the leaking water pump. I appreciate all that. But when I started seeing my customers, you know, with new tires and a set of struts, I said, what's going on here? So I don't think that, you know, we cannot be everything to everybody, but there's a certain amount of the business that I don't want to give away, especially if they're my customers. So this particular point right here, number 4 bullet point, is so key. It matters even more these days, especially if you're a repair shop that does try to do all makes and models, which that's a whole nother conversation. That's so difficult, but it's a very good, very, very important point right here.
And this next one is what makes it easier to get into the tire business today.
Yeah.
Joe can tell you, and I can certainly tell you, many years ago when we were in the tire business, I had inventory. Yeah, each one of my stores had probably $100,000 worth of tire inventory in them.
Yeah. You had to back then. You had to buy something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you had to. But today there's distributors that deliver 3, 4. I've heard some places even delivering 5 times a day.
Yeah.
And so you really don't have to have any inventory, nor should you have any inventory. And the reason for that is today's vehicles, I think it takes 28,000 different SKUs to have one tire for everything. Think about that. So there's 28 different tire sizes, and, you know, different SKUs and part numbers. So, so today you couldn't inventory if you wanted to, number one, and have any coverage. But more importantly, you don't have to. So that's another thing that makes it attractive getting into this. You don't have any inventory expense. It takes less skill, less talent needed. You know, you don't need an A+ tech that knows how to diagnose vehicles to put tires on. So, you know, you can do tires with a little less skilled person. Maybe, again, I'm throwing numbers around here, maybe a $20 an hour person, as opposed to technicians being in the $45, $50 an hour range these days. So you can do it with a less skilled, less talent. This is the biggest one here, I think, and this is coming stronger than I think any of us in this industry ever thought it was going to come. But electric vehicles need tires, right? Joe and I do another presentation where we talk, and a Toyota Camry today has 30,000 parts on it, if you include every nut and bolt. A Tesla has less than 10. So there's 1/3 of the parts on a Tesla there is on a Toyota Camry, for example. The point I'm trying to make by this is we're not going to have the repairs that we used to have, but one thing we are going to have, and in this case, we're going to have almost twice as much as normal, is they need tires. And electric EV tires are wearing, most of the manufacturers are telling us that they're wearing at between 28 and 40% faster than the internal combustion vehicles. Joe, I think you read an article about that here or something, didn't you, that you just told me about earlier this morning?
It's this month, National Lube magazine says that in the life of a car, consumers can expect to purchase 2 extra sets of tires, adding to about $3,000 to the cost of ownership to that car. So that's opportunity. And again, and like Kevin said earlier, you can get the customer coming back with those tire rotations. You're gonna sell more tires. There's a lot of extra benefit, a lot of extra sales that go along with that, and it is the right thing to do for the customer. It really is.
I think you told me one time, Joe, you knew a guy that worked at Tesla dealership, and the first thing to do when a Tesla comes in for service, they rotate the tires, They, what did you
You
say?
look at the
Check the
brakes,
alignment.
cabin filter, check the
Yeah.
alignment. They do a lot of different things. It's a once a year service. Yeah.
But the biggest thing is that electric vehicles are wearing tires at almost twice as fast as the internal combustion engine cars. The reason for that, by the way, in case anyone's wondering, is two things. Number one is the extra torque. We all know that the electric vehicle has the extra torque, and that is the primary. But the other is the extra weight. That battery weight is all at the very bottom of that car. So you've added the extra weight with the extra torque. That's why they're wearing out so much faster. So again, even if you're not in the electric vehicle repair business just yet, which we all will be at one day, I'm sure, but even if you're not, you can still sell tires in that electric vehicle. You can still put brakes in that electric vehicle. You can still put shocks and struts on that electric vehicle. And it starts with tires, in my opinion. And this is another thing that we had a coach bring this up, quite frankly, and he's exactly right. It's one of the few things that we do when we fix a car, the customer feels the immediate difference. Right? The tire disintegrates or degrades slowly over time. They don't realize how bad they are till they get new ones, and they feel that difference immediately. Kind of a win-win. Here's some of the cons. It's physical space. It takes, if you don't, if you got a 3-bay shop, you may not have a lot of room, extra room for a tire machine and a tire balancer. So that's something that's got to be taken into consideration. Equipment cost, even though I said that the cost is pretty minimal, there still is some cost to get involved. You have to have you have to have a good tire changer today because of the types of tires and wheels that we're messing with. You cannot have a cheap tire changer. You got to have a decent tire changer. And you got to have a great balancer. When I say great balancer, I'm not talking about road force. Absolutely not talking about road. Are they the best? Positively. But you don't want to use a road force on everyday tires unless you have to. That's for problem children, is what I used to call them. Got a problem child, I'm gonna put them on the road force. So equipment cost is a con. And then the time it's necessary to select your vendor or supplier. I'm gonna go into that a little bit deeper, what you have to do about getting hooked up with a local distributor warehouse, but that takes time. So that is a con. And then finally, the training that's needed to sell and service tires. That's not as much as you think, as far as the training is concerned, because today, my philosophy has been for the last several years, and is even more today than ever, is that it's really simple to sell tires these days. In that, what I mean by simple is the recommended tire for a vehicle. Used to, you had to go through all this training to understand what tire applied to what. Well, my philosophy is whatever that vehicle came with, that's what you need to go back with. In a few minutes, I'm going to tell you why. So that makes it simpler though, right, Joe? You don't have to sit and worry about, hey, can I go with this tire? Can I go with this tire? No, you know what? Go back with what they have.
The OE tire, what did it come with? What was it born with? I agree.
There you go.
I agree.
Here's some interesting facts I thought I would share with you all. This is pretty interesting. 78% of all replacement tire sales are sold by the first car care professional that informs the customer of the need. So the first place that tells the customer that they need tires, 70% of the time, they're the ones that sell the tire. Pretty interesting. For every dollar of tire sales in any given shop in the United States, for every dollar in tire sales, the consumer will spend an additional $1.50 in added sales. 57% of customer deflections from shops occur from tire sales. That goes back to what I told you earlier. If you send that customer down the shop, down the street, you're giving them an opportunity to make a relationship with that person. And that's right here, 57% of the defections come from tire sales. 72% of customers who purchase tires from your shop will return for service. These are big numbers that just can't be ignored, right? 62.5% of all tires sold are sold by independent dealers. I know this surprised a lot of people. But 62%. This was in 2019. There wasn't a lot of studies done in 20 and 21 for obvious reasons. We all know what we've been through the last couple of years. But excuse me, in 2019, the average gross profit margin on a tire was 24.2%. I know that as a coach, I teach that if we can stay in that 20% range, you're doing just fine. But I'm going to show you an example a little later that you can make money selling tires at no profit. So, but 24% is the average on a profit margin on the tire, 2019. This is another interesting that kind of took me off guard. 9% of all vehicle crashes are tire related. Some form or fashion are tire related. excuse me, 20% of customers that come in your shop are driving on potentially unsafe tires. Think about that.
That's a
And
big
again,
one.
the
That's a
worksheet
big
I'm going to show, this worksheet I'm going to show you really brings to light that if you hit, I'll show, well, when we get to, you'll see that 20% vehicle and tire manufacturers on average spend $1 million to develop specific tire attributes that enhance the safety and performance of OE tires. This goes back to what I was saying, Joe and I were saying a few minutes ago. Put the tire that was the vehicle was designed for, put that tire back on the car. That's going to be the best setup. That's going to be the best ride, the best performance for that customer. Tire manufacturers and the vehicle manufacturers spend millions of dollars trying to make sure this particular tire works best on this particular vehicle. And I know that most people didn't realize it. I didn't realize it for several years, but that's why it's important to go back with the OE. Can you put other tires on a car? Absolutely. But I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend, when not all possible, unless the customer's unhappy with what they have on their vehicle, I would go back up with the OE tire for this reason. A lot of money spent trying to make it right. This is a good one. Car dealers, franchise car dealers, they only sell 8.5% of replacement tires sold. Now that's a lot of tire units when you think of the number of dealerships out there.
Yeah.
But let me tell you guys, they are shooting for 30%. That's their target.
Kevin, can I just chime in right here, because I want to
Wherever.
refer back to that article in Auto Dealer Service Magazine, and the dealerships are pushing for more tires. They know they noticed. I think Ford was one of the first
Yep.
because they realized that the defection rate was the highest at the point that the customer needed a set of tires.
Yep.
They usually went to a tire facility for those tires. They're trying like hell to get back into the tire business, and they want to get that number up to 30%. And they're doing all they can. So if the dealerships recognize the needs that you're bringing up here about selling tires, then I think for us it's worth looking at too. So it's a good point. Good point.
This is a new one that was just added last week because I just saw this. Usually we'd see reports where AAA said that properly inflated tires will save you X number of miles or increase your mileage. Well, they broke it down into dollars and cents, and they're saying right now that properly inflated tires can save as much as 3 cents a gallon of fuel. Think about that. That don't seem like a lot of money, but 3 cents here, 3 cents there. That's just for properly inflated tires. Again, the reason I put that in there, it's just kind of an interesting fact, number one, but number two, it shows how important it is that we take care of our customers' tires. If we don't do anything more than inflate them every time inflate them to proper air pressures when they come in, that's important. And this is the reason I put that in there. This is a great sales tool, quite frankly, but this is the true story. Wet weather tire results. And this is minimally wet, light shower, for example, just a light shower. At 70 mile an hour, a brand new tire, which is around 11-30 seconds tread depth, will stop at 195 feet. A tire that is 430 seconds takes 100 feet longer to stop. And a tire that's 230 seconds takes 200 feet longer to stop. My philosophy has always been, I think Joe agrees with this, we start discussing with tires, we start discussing with customers the need for tires at 430 seconds.
Yeah.
Because 230 seconds totally wore out.
Yeah.
So 430 seconds, as you can see, you're getting there. And especially you live in an area that's got rain or a lot of weather, 430 seconds, in my opinion, that tire needs to be replaced soon. Replaced.
Kevin, there's an old saying that the brakes stop the wheel, the tires stop the car.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down, Joe. I'm not gonna share it either.
You're not going to steal that from me, are you?
But that's you know what? That's a great point, because that's exactly right. The brake, you can have the best brakes in the world, but the tires are not any good. You're not stopping.
That's right.
That's a great
Brakes stop the wheel, tires stop
the car. I
Yeah.
love that. Good job, Joe. Well, I'm gonna use that. I'm not giving you credit either. That's a
know.
joke between
I know.
joke between us folks. That's just a
I know.
joke between Joe and I. I'm going to show you a real detail with one of these in a minute. This is just a simple one I did for my clients many years ago. Let me kind of move this out of the way. That I did for my clients many years ago. And this is just making some basic assumptions. I'm going to sell 4 tires. No matter what the cost of the tires is, I'm going to just make $10 a tire, right? That's not 20%, by the way, on a what would that be? $170 tire, whatever. At any rate, we're saying right in this example, if you just make $10 a tire, and then you sell the maintenance package, or we call it a maintenance or installation package. We don't. I'm going to show you in a few minutes about this too. I don't break things down with mounting, balancing, valve stem. Of course, valve stems don't thing anymore with TPMS, but I don't break it down separately. I package together. So you get, and I'm going to show you in a few minutes.
Yeah.
You get these 10 or 12 things, and for $40, and you can make that number whatever you want. Ours was $40. So at any rate, 4 tires at $10 a piece is $40. 4 installation package or maintenance package, $160. And this figure's in alignment as well. And that's given a discount on alignment, by the way. That's just $100. By the way, every tire that is sold, you should always recommend a free alignment check. And on that free alignment check, as we all know, 8, 9 out of 10 are going to need alignment, right? 8, 9 out of 10. So you can do it a little discounted price if you like. And in this case, I showed it as a discounted price at $100. The bottom line is that the sale price for that tire job right there is $883. The actual gross profit dollars is $300. And then down below, you'll see where we take out the labor. And this one here was done at a $15 an hour person, but you can also see that, oh no, I did this at the $18 an hour person with a 1.5 load, which means that their hourly rate for that particular job would be $28.12. And by the way, you can do 4 tires an hour very simply, very quickly. Usually it's 30 to 45 minutes, but I'm basing all this on an hour. So on this particular job, the gross profit dollars was $271. The gross profit percentage was 30%. So if you're looking at percentages, you're saying, oh, wow, I can't do that. That's going to kill my gross profit percentage. But let's come on down below. This is a simple, and again, these numbers are for illustration purposes only. We know that these numbers fluctuate. But let's just say you got an hour test for a check engine light. And I got this at $140, which by the way, is not enough today. But at this example, when I did this a couple of years ago, it was $140 for testing the check engine light. And they determined that its oxygen sensor was bad. So, we at 50% gross margin, we get $140 over the sell side, get $140 for that, or 75% $75 gross margin. The oxygen sensor labor half hour at $75. So as you can see that the total sales for that job is $355. Same hour, by the way, guys. The total job sales for that is $355. The total gross profit in that job is $290. Now let's take out the labor for that job, right? Now we're talking about a tech at $40 an hour. And I think right here I got it at 35 with loaded brings it to $43 an hour. So you see that the gross profit margin on that job is 63%. Pretty good. We're shooting for that 60% range. That's pretty good. But look at the gross profit dollars. It's $30 less.
Yeah.
So this was just a quick example I did with my clients. I'm going to show you something now that's going to be a little easier for you guys, all you out there. I've made up this chart. By the way, this is I have 3 of these things that I'm going to go through that I'll make available to anyone that's on this webinar. If you would just shoot me an email and request it, I'll send these forms to you. This particular form is just, again, a little bit more detailed than what I just showed you earlier. This particular form, you just take it and you fill in the blue boxes. So for example, you put in the hourly rate of the whatever your hourly rate is. You put in what the average wage of the technician is, and then it shows you. This shows you the service on the left side. On the right side, you do tire calculations, cost of the tire. I put a 20% margin here. You can put whatever margins you like just to play with it. And then it shows you the average cost and the average gross profit on the tire sale, the average cost and gross profit on the service sale. And you see the difference down below is $122.50. So again, it's similar to what I did above, but this sheet just doesn't calculates it automatically. But look at the gross profit margins. That's what I want you to look at, percentages. On the tire thing, it only shows 33%. As compared to 55% on the service job. But the difference is $122 in gross profit dollars.
Yeah.
So you have to understand when you get into, if you do start selling tires to any great degree, you're going to have to readjust your thinking on what your gross profit, total overall gross profit margin should be. It's going to be less, but your gross profit dollars is going to be higher.
Yeah.
You got anything to add to that, Joe? Yes.
Yeah, I really do. And this is a great worksheet for the shops. The thing to remember too is that, it's good to be competitive with tires only because it's something it's highly,
Commodity. It's commodity.
Yeah, it's commodity. But but let's face it, Kevin, the reality too is that a lot of shops, they've built relationships with customers and they're really not as price conscious because of who they're going to, right?
Good point.
So you
Good
have the
point.
best of both worlds when you sell a tire job that's very competitive to a customer that says, wow, that the customer already trusts you, which means you don't have to be at the bottom end of this. You could be a little bit higher and still be as comparable to a tire shop, maybe a little bit more, not have to worry too much because those customers that come to you, they've already built that relationship. They trust you already. So this is a great worksheet, Kevin. It really is.
That's right. Joe, you're exactly correct on that. And that's the purpose of going. The reason I built these worksheets for my clients was just so they could go in there, they could put their own numbers in there. And then again, it lets them make an informed decision. Is this something I want to participate in? Is this something that makes sense? And that's all this is for. And this is just another one, but adding a wheel alignment to it. So it's basically the same thing, but adds a wheel, just has just add the wheel alignment to it. Again, I'll be glad to send this to anyone that wants it. If you'll just shoot me an email, and I'll go back to my email address here in a minute. But if you'll shoot me an email, I'll be glad to send these to you. All you gotta do is input your numbers in the blue boxes, and the sheet will calculate automatically. This is something that Joe was talking about car dealers earlier, and I got to tell you, this is where this came from. Quite frankly, this is a worksheet that the manufacturers, this one particularly is Chevrolet. Chevrolet sent out to all their dealers so they could do a synopsis or an evaluation of what their sales potential could be with tires. So I just kind of want to go through it a little bit, and then we go through it. And, any questions you might have, we can go through a little bit later. But so this particular instance, they'll say that you have 300 cars, and again, still in the blue boxes, it calculates automatically. But you have 300 ROs, okay? And then the study we just showed, the facts show that 20% of cars come to your shop need tires. So we're using that 20% factor there, right? So out of the 300 cars that come in, you got a potential of 60 tires. Let's use an 80% closing ratio because they say 78%, correct? So we're going to use a 80% closing ratio. So in other words, out of the 300 repair orders that you have, 48 need tires. And by the way, I always recommend, unless the tires are very close in tread depth, that you replace all 4 at the same time. And the reason goes back to what we talked about earlier with the 430 seconds. If you got the front has 430 seconds and the back has, are brand new at 1130 seconds, that front's not going to stop and that back end's going to come around. Vice versa, same thing. So I always recommend that the customer replace it with 4 tires. Again, if they're close, 230 seconds difference between the two, you can get by with 2. At any rate, so the projected tire sales in this particular thing, 48 cars that we think need tires, 4 tires per car is 192 tires is the projected tire sales for this particular dealership or example. They're taking the average tire sale per tire at $130. Again, you can adjust these numbers any way you want. So the revenue, the total tire revenue for this particular month would be $24,960. And we're saying here that we're just making a gross profit of $15 per tire. Again, you can make that number 10, you can make it 5. I don't care. Just use this to work it out. But at any rate, $15 a tire. So the gross profit on the projected tire sales would be $2,800. We're talking about this 1 month. We got the tire installation package at $40 a piece. That's going to generate $7,600 in gross profit for the tire protection packages. Then you come down below it. It's got the alignment at $100, again discounted. The bottom line is, if you come all the way through the bottom, and again, I will send this to anyone that wants it. For that month, you're increasing your total gross profit of $10,368 by just adding tires based off the minimum numbers that are the average numbers that the industry says that you should be selling. So if 300 cars come in, the 20% of that 300 cars is 60 cars need tires. That's how, that's how this thing is figured. At any rate, this is a good way to tell you, is this worth doing? Well, in this case, and this is pretty conservative. In this case, you're talking about $124,000 extra gross profit a year. That goes right to the bottom in this particular instance.
Yeah, it might mean a little bit of, like you said earlier, you mentioned about mindset. And here too, the mindset has to change a little bit about your business model, just a little bit. And you have to understand how to implement this. But in these days when it's so difficult to be all makes, all models, it's so difficult to be everything, to be proficient at a Subaru check engine light and a Porsche check engine light, to do it's so, then talk about EVs, reprogramming. So here, and we struggle, and those shops are struggling. I know before I sold my business, it was a struggle to maintain this level of proficiency with all makes, all models. So you implement something that kind of gives you a little bit of a boost in the arm in terms of gross profit, needed gross profit. You just got to change the way of thinking a little bit to implement this and to integrate it into how you do business today, if that makes sense.
That's a great point, Joe. That's a great point, because I think a lot of people have I don't know if it's a sour taste or just they don't know what they don't know. So they think I can't make, I hear that all the time. That's the reason I feel this way, is that you can't make money at tires. Well, you can't make a good percentage, but you can make money at tires.
Good money. Yeah. And I think it depends upon, again, the mindset of that particular shop owner. I too, Kevin, have pushback from a lot of shop. I talk to a lot of shop owners around the country, and I get pushback. I get people who want to listen. I get pushback. And if it's not right for you, it's not right for you. Okay, if that's it, I understand that. But just take a listen to it. Take a look at what Kevin's saying. And I was one of those guys in the '80s that said, no, tires, go down to the local tire shop. But then it became important to me. But I think it's so important today. Think about it with ADAS, steering angle sensor recalibrations, Tpms, computers. When you're doing a radiator or a condenser, taking apart the bumper, and there may be recalibration attached to that, right? So everything is going to fall in line with high tech, with tires, with alignments, with all this. So it just takes a little bit of take the time, take a breath, and just listen and just try to integrate it within your business model right now. Don't change your business model either, though, by the way. Don't change your model.
And quite frankly, that's what these worksheets are for. You can plug in numbers. You can plug in a number, say, I only make $5 a tire, and see what it comes out to. That's what these are for. And again, I'm not trying to, Joe isn't either. We're not trying to sway you one way or the other. I'm just trying to give you, like I do my own clients, as much information as I can give you to where you can make an educated decision.
But Kevin, to your point too, you're a tire shop, and your son is right now a tire shop, and he kind of promotes this theme of selling tires, correct? And you did too. But what shops like automotive traditional repair shops like mine, we didn't worry too much about bringing in. This was to supplement my customers that are coming in right now. So, and when I realized that what that 20% meant, that there's a lot of cars sitting out of my parking lot right now that may need tires. Why am I sending them away? And that's the point. So don't change your business model. Don't think you have to attract. Don't think that. It's like, can you implement and integrate this particular mindset and business model within your business model? And that's what Kevin's trying to say.
And I got to tell you, Joe and I are going to go through some tips here in a few minutes to give you some ideas how to kind of slowly get yourself into it. Just kind of slowly weed yourself in. But to Joe's point, I'm not asking you to go out here and be in the tire business. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm just saying, don't turn it away.
Yeah.
Don't turn away your customers. Send them down the street.
That's the point.
Because if you send them down the street, I promise there's going to be people like me that are going to take all the gravy. And when something hard comes, we're going to send it back to you.
Send back to you. It's back to me. Yeah.
So that's just, there's different business models, and that's the way that business model works. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
This is an example. And again, this is not something else. This is the third item. I'll be glad to send anyone that might want this. But this is when I told you how we package stuff together. This is what I started doing probably 20 years ago, maybe. We were a pioneer in doing this. And the reason I did this was because I was having a difficult time getting my store managers to sell road hazard. And I hate that word, by the way, sell road hazard. So what I decided is, and quite frankly, we ran our business very customer centric. So if a customer came back and they broke a tire, 2 days after they bought it, I'm gonna give them a new one anyway, right? I'm gonna replace it for them anyway. So the bottom line is, we went to this setup, and we had a gold package and we had a platinum package, and you can call them whatever you want. But the only difference between the two, quite frankly, is one was nitrogen fill and one was not. That's the only difference. And again, these prices are just, for example, you can price however anyone thinks it ought to be. But here's an example. So when a customer comes in, we didn't tell them, yet, well, you're mounting this and balancing this, and we just said, hey, our tire installation package includes all this, and it's only $39.99 or $44.99 in this case, whatever the number you come up with. This way, every car's got road hazard. So you don't have a question as, well, did we sell that guy road hazard? Did we didn't? You're getting on every single car. By the way, and Joe can attest to this, you'll never exceed the money you take in from road hazard. You'll never exceed that in warranty work. I promise.
Absolutely not. No.
I promise you that.
It's always a profit center. It is definitely a profit center.
So at any rate, this is just an example. Professional tire installation, TPMS, pressure monitoring system inspection, which is what we do these days. You're going to sell a few of those. I don't even have that on there. It's on the worksheet, but I haven't added that into the equation. Lifetime computer spend balance, again, lifetime. We want them coming back to us if they feel like they got a problem. Road hazard protection, tire disposal fee, the lifetime rotation, again, free lifetime rotation. We want them back every 5,000 miles to rotate those tires, no matter what kind of tires you sell, with one exception. If they're staggered sizes, you can't do that, which we're seeing some of those these days, by the way. And then lifetime free flat repairs. I'm going to say this is probably the single biggest selling benefit on this sheet. And you may not think that until a customer experiences it. And there's nothing the customer likes more than coming and getting their tire fixed, not being charged. I can't explain that, but I'm telling you, I've lived it for 40 years. It's just exactly the way it is. And then free annual alignment check. And again, all these things are doing, you see, you're building a lot of value. That's a lot of value for $40 a tire, a lot of value. So you're building a lot of value, but from the shop owner perspective, we're getting that customer back into us, like we used to with the oil changes.
Yeah.
Now we get them once a year for the alignment check. We get them every 6 months for the free tire rotation. If they get a flat repair, we get them back in to see us.
Well, Kevin, that is smart marketing. When you have this type of package, if something happens to the tire, hole, flat, who are they thinking of first? They need a tire.
Yes.
Who are they thinking of? They're thinking of you. So in terms of marketing, it's a smart marketing.
And I did it, quite frankly, Joe, honestly, I did it because I could not get my managers to consistently sell road hazard.
We did the same thing, Kevin. And at first we used to buy the packages from another company. And I said, wait a minute, that money far exceeded the money I needed to do it in-house.
Positively.
So I said, let me just stop that. So I did it in-house. You put the money in a separate account or just keep track of it. And you will find out that just if you include it, just like this, it's a very down and dirty way of saying, I'll put money aside and say, that's it. You always have enough, because how many tires are going to go bad? I mean, how many real, in a course of a year or so.
And not only that, just think of there's no fights. There's no more arguments, no more fights. Customer comes in, has got a bad tire, you take care of it for them. They feel safe, they feel comfortable. Yes.
I've had customers who got flats 2 states away, 3 states away. Are you going to? Yeah, sure. If you can bring me the tire, I like to look at it. But if you know what? Because we had such little failures, just bring me the receipt. Don't worry about it. You take care of it.
I don't know the exact numbers today, Joe, but many years ago, that number was less than 1% in road hazard. Much less than 1%.
Yeah.
So at any rate, these are 2 examples. I'll be glad to send anyone that might be interested. This is just something that we've used for several years. I got several clients that use similar things. And like I said, you can call them, do whatever you want. The nitrogen fill, that's just something that you've got to, as a business owner, figure out if that's important to you. It never was to me much. And let me tell you why. I felt like that wasn't really doing a real service to the customer. And the reason I say is because the minute someone puts in regular air, it's wasted.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, there are some people that want this. And I got to tell you, again, this can be done very inexpensively. You don't have to buy a nitrogen machine. You buy a tank from the same people you buy your acetylene and oxygen from. You can buy a nitrogen tank and you can use it to fill tires. And that's what we did to start with. And we ended up doing away with it because we realized it wasn't in demand. It wasn't in demand. So, okay, some next steps. Then we'll get some question and answers here. But the next steps: complete the tire calculator sales projection worksheet. See if it's profitable for you. See if it's the right thing for you. Analyze equipment needs. As I said, the one thing you can't I don't want to say be chintzy or cheap on, but you got to buy a decent tire changer today. Otherwise, you're going to be paying for $200 and $300 wheels. Trust me. So you got to buy a decent tire changer. But even at that, you can buy this stuff used every day. I've had clients that put this whole tire thing together for less than $3,000. Tire and a balancer.
Yeah.
They got it used, tire and a balancer. So analyze your equipment needs. So right now, I would begin by subscribe to all the popular tire trade magazines. You know, Modern Tire Dealer, Tire Review, Tire Business, those are the three big ones. But so there's no cost to subscribe to them. And it just starts getting you into the mindset of tires. Next step is, if you decide that this is something you want to do, then you want to select vendors and start interviewing them. I put up a few of the nationwide popular ones here. There's several in smaller markets that do this, that are wholesalers or for tires. You know, start researching with them. There's a lot, they have a lot of things available to you. They got training available to you. They don't charge you. If you start selling a few tires, you'll be the first one on the list getting the tires when they deliver them. There's just, and you know, like for US Auto Force, they have a lot of, they sell a lot of parts in addition to tires. So I have some clients that they get everything on one truck. Their parts and their tires come from the same place. So interview and select tire vendors, suppliers in your area. ATD and NTW are just about in every market in the United States, I think. Then develop a training program. And when I'm talking about training program right now, the training program I feel is necessary for right this minute, if I was getting the tire business, get people to look. Get your technicians, get your oil techs, get them to look. That's the first step right there.
Yeah.
Because all the statistics show us if we're the first one to tell a customer we're going to sell 78% of those tires. So if the training right now is get them to look and get them to understand, in my opinion, and I think most in the manufacturing world's opinion is 430 seconds. Those are very close to wore out. The law is 230 seconds, but I wouldn't want my wife driving on 430.
No.
Display signage in your showroom, shop, and restrooms. You can put logos of the, you can just build your own signs if you want to. You can put logos of tires. Just let people know that you sell tires now. Just, like I said, just the signage and stuff. Let people know that, you know what, we're in tire business. Or let me rephrase it. We can sell tires. I'm not saying you're in the tire business, but we can sell you tires. You don't need to go down to Discount Tire. You don't need to go down the street to Mavis.
Kevin, let me just, I get questions a lot from shop owners and clients. Do I need to change my name somehow? Put a tire logo with it. You don't have to do that because they're not your customers right now. If you're an independent shop owner, they're not coming to you because of what you sell, because you sell steering racks, because you sell water pumps. They're coming to you because they trust you. You built a relationship with them. It's the same thing now. So when Kevin says to do all these things, incorporated within your culture, and that means right down to the multi-point inspections must be part of your of what you do each and every day. Tell the customer you're at 630 seconds on your tires. They look good now. There's no need to worry. Start informing the customer on it. And that training is really very little. It just means, like Kevin said, look at the tires. Make it part of what you do every day. Look at those tires. Tell the customer, tires are good, tires are good, tires are getting low. Now you need tires. And that's the whole concept of this. Whole concept.
Well said, Joe. Thank you for that. Include tire logos in all your marketing advertising. And again, you don't have to put anything more than the logo. People recognize Michelin logo. They recognize a Goodyear logo. They recognize Firestone. Put logos in any print advertising you may do. Put it on your website. again, just let people know that you sell tires. You may
Yeah.
never sell one, but you've got it there in front of you, and you got the customer understands you're selling tires. And again, you can get these from, once you establish a relationship with the supplier, they'll give you 4 or 5 tires you can use as display tires, give them to you on consignment. But put a couple tires in your waiting room, or
Yeah.
your customer waiting area, or the next to the counter. Again, just subliminally, you're planting the seed to a customer. We can take care of your tire needs.
And it starts a conversation. It starts
you
a
go.
conversation. Yeah.
And Joe, it costs this much. Zero.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost
I know.
anything.
No.
Again, I said this earlier, but you should always recommend replacing 4 tires. And the difference would be if there's only a couple 30 seconds between the front and the rear, you're okay. But if there's 4 or 5 30 seconds between the front and the rear, for safety purposes, they really should replace all 4. In emergency stop, I promise you, if the front tires are good and the back tires are bad, that hind end's coming around bigger than crap.
Yeah.
So you always should try to recommend 4 tires. And then, this is something little known to a lot of people, but this is comes from all the manufacturers and comes from National Transportation Safety Board as well.
Yeah.
And that is that tires need to be replaced if they're 6 years old or older. So if you're looking at a customer's car and you see that those tires are 6 years old or older, discussion needs to be had whether those tires have plenty of tread left on them or not. And the reason for that is because the integrity of the rubber and the sidewalls, the integrity of the rubber itself degenerates over time. And for those of you that aren't aware or may not know how to find out what the production year is, I kind of give you an example here. The first 2 numbers of the week of production, the second 2 numbers of the year of production. So for example, if the DOT is XXXXX 2620, that means that tire was built the 26th week of 2020. Okay, so if you just go back 6 years, then we're looking for something that was anything prior to 2014, 16, yeah, 16. Yeah, we're 22 now. Yeah, right,
Yeah.
16. So anything
Kevin,
older than 2016, you ought to be discussing with the client. Yes, sir.
And again, make this part of the multi-point. There must be a field of multi-point, tire size, tire make model, and also the DOT number, DOT date code. That's so critical. So critical.
And again, Joe, you can simply just look at the last 4 digits. That's all you got to look at.
That's it.
Last
That's all you need.
last
That's all you
last
need.
4 digits. Last 4 digits.
Yeah.
That'll tell you whether if it's within
We
that
had
6 year
customers
period.
that there were elderly customers that may have had a Camry that had 20,000 miles on it, but yet it was 12 years old.
There you go.
And that conversation, like you said, has to be made with the customer. Your tires are 12 years old. I know it's no miles on them, but that's a conversation, and it's important. You don't want anything happen to the customer because of something you neglected.
Customers don't realize, and most of us even in this industry don't realize how much the sun and the weather, the heat degrades the rubber in a tire. They're just not meant to last forever.
And don't forget the spare tire too. They'll change 3 sets of tires. The car's 13 years old, but the spare tire, if it's a full size, never been even taken out of where it's mounted. So
good point.
Check that spare tire too.
Good point. Anyway, you can try some of these things to kind of put your toes in the water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you can see, but like I said, this doesn't take a big investment. And you know what? Once you get if you already have the equipment, once you get a relationship established with a wholesale or supplier, you may start off only doing 4 or 5 tires a month, but it will gradually build and build and build and build.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the main thing is really and truly the reason that I think it's important is not for the actual. I think it's the most important thing is it's the right thing to do for the customer, number one, and number two, we don't take a chance of our customers going somewhere else. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe, there's 3 questions there, but I'm going to get to
Yep.
just a minute. Let me go through these 3. Let me go through these next 2 slides real quick, and that way we're out of here. I just want to. I'm going to go past this one to this one first. And at Elite, I just want everyone to know what we can do to help. We do webinars like this, but we also have all kinds of tools to help in sales and marketing and profitability and recruiting. There's a plethora of things that we can do as a company. So if there's anything you ever need help, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Like I said, we do these webinars and we're doing them just for the industry. We're doing them to help people understand different things of the tire business in this particular case, but we have lots of different ways as a company we can help you. This is one that's probably the biggest thing that we do. Well, not the biggest thing we do, but it's probably the most intense business management course you'll ever go through. As I said, Joe leads this course and has led it for the last 5 or 6 years. Joe and I have whittled it down to 3 days. It used to be 4 days, and we've been able to whittle it down. But I can tell you this is 3 of the most intense business learning days that you'll ever go through.
Yeah, it is.
We go through everything from financial management, employee management, recruiting, marketing. It's just everything that needs to do with the operation of a business, not necessarily none of the technical stuff. This is all about business. So it's a great course. If anyone be interested in doing it this year, or not this year, this next one coming up is in Indianapolis, which for most of you is within a day's drive. Indianapolis is days drive within 60% of the country. So it's easy to get to. It's a great place to have an event like this. That's in the middle of the country. So if anyone is interested in doing it, I would highly recommend you get on the Elite website and research that. Okay, now I'm gonna go to the questions, Joe.
Yeah, there's 3 questions. Let's take the easiest one first. How can a shop estimate its potential opportunity of tire sales per year? And that's the worksheet that Kevin presented. So I hope that answered that question.
Let me go back to that, because you can see it has a year. There it is. So we have the annually over here on the right side and the monthly here. So if you work through this worksheet, like I said, all you do is put your numbers in the blue boxes. It automatically tells you what that annual would be.
Yeah. And again, just supply us with your email address, and then we will send you that.
Real quick, let me go back to that, Joe, so they can write this down while we're taking these questions, huh?
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea, Kevin.
There you go. There's my email address. You can write that down while we're going through these questions. How's that?
Yeah. Number 2, most cars today have TPMS. Can you really change all 4 tires and reset the TPMS in 1 hour or less? Good question. You may or may not. Depends on if there's a problem with the TPMS.
I was going to say, it really does. It depends.
Yeah.
My first initial answer would say absolutely. But there are, it's like anything else you get into, there are circumstances that might.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I'm finding more, we're seeing more and more of, Joe, these days, is that there's a lot of times the TPMS are being replaced at the same time tires are being replaced.
Or rebuilding them. That's a whole nother line of profit. They rebuild them.
There you go. But
new valve cores, new seals. I think that, again, that's a learning curve for some shops. If you're doing, Honda Civics and Accords, Camrys, Chevrolets, Fords, you may not have a problem. You start getting into the Mercedes, Porsche, then you may have some, that's a learning curve again. Again, Kevin said it earlier, you have to implement this slowly. If you're not doing any tires now, implement it slowly. I think it should be part of your sales process when you do sell tires to inform the customer of TPMS. Because a lot of shops are doing, which I don't agree with, is if they have a problem, they're taking it on the chin to recalibrate, and that's not what we don't want to add any burden to you. It has to be a profitable area. So can you do it? In most cases, take it with someone who's done it. It can be done. Yes, it can be done. But if there's a problem, no, there's obviously there's going to be time needed to be allotted for recalibrating, replacing, whatever. That,
if you go to the worksheet that I have here, you'll see it has on here about TPMS. So you can add this to your equation.
Yeah.
Right. So and as Joe said, that's just one more revenue stream that is coming, number one. But more importantly, you want to be the one-stop automotive shop. You don't want to go anywhere else, right? You don't want to go anywhere else. So if we can take care of all of it, but to answer I would not, if I've never done tires before, I would steer away from European stuff to start with, Joe. I would stick with the, like you said, the Civics, the Camrys, the high dollar stuff. Until you're fully into it, I probably wouldn't recommend getting into it.
Yeah, and some of those high-end cars, you do need I would recommend getting a better tire changer.
Oh, you have to
touchless
have,
tire
yeah,
changer.
have
So
to have the touchless
it's
tire
it's a
changer.
big deal. If, so slowly, first,
Yeah,
identify the need, talk to your customers, that's the first step. Make it part of your multi-point process to look at the tires, date codes, measure tread depth, things like that. But you're
and
probably doing already. I bet
and
you got most of you guys doing it already.
and as I said, by putting in some logos on your invoices or on your print,
Yeah.
and putting
Yeah.
logos or tire manufacturer signs in your show, all that does is just let people know that I can take care of that for you. Because prior to this, you may have been sending them down the road. So now
Yeah.
we're just like I said, it's just not even a sell, it's just a soft sell about, hey, look, we're now in the tire. No, we can provide tires for you.
Yeah.
I don't want to say we're now in the tire
Yeah.
business. We can
Right.
help you with your tires.
And it's important to be proactive.
Oh.
I'm someone who started the business a million years ago. And back then, what I would always say, cars came to us. They came to us and they came to us broken. Came to us broken. They need a lot of repairs, a lot of servicing. That's not the way it is anymore. We have to be very proactive in our approach. Cars are going to come to you if you're a repair shop, traditional, they're going to come to you for what? To check engine light, drivability, things like that. But it makes no sense. It makes no sense to send that person down the road. You wouldn't do it if they needed a cabin filter, a set of wipers, right? So, just think about that. If you're doing your multi-points, taking care of the customer, they're your customers. If you want to get into the tire business a little bit, you do not have to change your whole business logo. I mean, to a sense where you're drawing entire business. That's not what we're saying here. That's just integrate it as part of what you do each and every day.
We're not trying to change anyone's business model in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Because whatever, if what you're doing is working, God bless you. We're not trying to change that. We're just trying to enhance that just a little bit. And this is just one way of doing that.
Yeah. Okay, another question. You talk about rotating the tires every so often, but why isn't balancing the tires included or suggested at the same time? I'm sure if the 7,000 miles or 10,000 miles, enough rubber has been removed that the tires are no longer balanced as they were brand new. What are your thoughts about this? I can answer this question one thing. I never rotated in my world. I'm going to move tires around, especially after 10,000 miles or more. Yeah, I'm going to check that balance on those tires. That absolutely. But I implemented it early on in a way that if I'm giving it away free, all my numbers were in line so that I could get the customer back every 7,000 miles, every 6 months, because I know what the return is going to be because of the upsells there. So I agree with this person. Very important.
Absolutely great point. And I didn't mean to blow over that, but when I talked about having a lifetime balance, that's what I meant. That you absolutely, I would absolutely rotate. Now, that first rotation, you may not have to 5,000 miles. I wouldn't think you got to worry about unless there's a problem. I wouldn't think you have to worry about that. But after 10,000 miles, I think that the second time they rotate them, you ought to take the time to balance them for sure. Yeah, for sure. That's a great question, but I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree too. My world, that's what I did. It's a good point. But you have to build it in a way where you're not giving things away. Build it in a way where you're making the gross profit dollars. Initially, you're going to get them back for a reason to come back. That's high rotation and balance. And then it's just going to set up future sales. It's going to set up future opportunities for you. Great questions, by the way, guys.
They are great questions. And that's what these packages do. It kind of, you're selling the value. You're getting all this stuff. For look at this little bit of money. Most places, the road hazard would be $40 or $44.
Yeah.
But because you're getting everyone, you can afford to do it a little cheaper.
We got one more. Would you recommend balancing tires after a plug or patch repair? First of all, I can answer this too. I stopped doing plug repairs.
No plugs.
30 years ago. My repairs were from the inside, took it apart, examined the tire totally, put the correct patch repair, the tire, and you have to put that tire back on the balancer to make sure that it's balanced.
Absolutely.
And I would say yes.
I want to take that one step further. Never, under any circumstances, plug a tire.
Yeah, we don't plug tires.
Never.
I stopped.
Never under any circumstances. In my opinion, I know Joe had an article about this. I think that, not an article, but it was a question on Facebook a couple of days ago about selling used tires. No.
Used tires?
No. Because let me tell you something. You're liable. You're responsible. You plug that tire and the lady goes there on the road and that tire blows out. Even if it didn't blow out from that plug, they see a plug in that tire because you as a professional ought to know better. right? Because that's their philosophy.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what the portals say.
absolutely. You
As a
know better,
professional,
yeah.
you know better. You know better. Don't be
Yeah.
putting a plug in a
Yeah.
tire. So
Yeah.
I would absolutely never, ever, ever, ever plug a tire. Joe, I think we got another
Yeah.
question, don't we, buddy?
Hold on a second. Let me just check here. Yeah, we do. Two more. Hold on one second.
No worries.
Okay, so, plug patch unit. If you can do it right, if you do it right by manufacturer, where you,
I'm sorry, they do.
you
That's
drill the
right.
hole and you put the patch in from the back, like a butterfly that comes, yeah, you
It's
do
got
it
a plug that
right.
goes with
It
it. Yeah.
has to be done right. And I know what Kevin said, you give away free tire repairs. That's a tire repair. You know, that's a
Right.
tire repair. It's
Right.
not a plug. So that is the difference.
A plug is simply to get you from here to there.
Okay.
You know, if it's emergency, but I would never put a plug. Now the patch plug, he's exactly right. That's the way it should be prepared properly.
Yeah,
The patch
yeah.
plug is actually a plug that comes, the patch is here and the plug's attached to it and it
Yeah.
actually comes up through the tire. That's the
Yeah.
appropriate way to patch it. So yes,
It takes time. It takes a little bit of training. It takes using the right material,
product,
the right
product.
product. But it's the right way to do it. If you do that, and be careful, go by the guidelines. Nothing on the edge of the tires. Make sure there's enough tread depth in the tire. Go by those guidelines, and if you get, it doesn't take a lot to find out what all these guidelines are. But yeah,
Joe, I'm gonna be quite frank with you today. Unless that puncture is pretty small and in the middle of the tire, tire's got to be replaced. Tire's got to be replaced. If it's anywhere near 2 inches to the side of the shoulder, that tire can't be repaired. It just can't be repaired properly.
And this person, same person.
Real quick, again, some of these training is very easy to get to and doesn't cost you anything. Myers Tire Supply will come out and do a fantastic presentation on repairing tires, and doesn't cost you anything. And I would recommend that if you do any tire repairs, whether you sell tires or not, because there is truly a proper way and an improper way, and the quickest way to get in a court of law is to do something improperly when you should know better. And that's what they claim. We've all been there, and you should know better. You're the professional. Okay, I didn't.
Yeah.
So, okay, one more, Joe, you said?
Well, no, it's just the same person. Daniel is saying correct. Agreed. Never plug a tire. I agree. Yeah. Yep. Any other questions? Any other questions?
I would never plug a tire, and I would never sell used tires. I just think that's a good way of
fix the tire right. Fix the tire.
That's the good way of getting someone to come back on you. Any other questions before we get off here? Great questions, by the way. Thank you all.
Great questions. Or comments.
Yeah, any comments?
Anything you'd like to say?
Okay, well then we will move on again.
I'm sorry. One more, Kevin. I'm sorry. One more.
Sure.
Daniel, any recommended procedures to give fast tire quotes? Fast tire quotes.
Well, I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
I do want to say this. And again, I'm not trying to make this into a sales process because that's not what this was about. But I can tell you that was the only thing I would ever quote over the phone. Never quoted any service over the phone at all. But I would quote a tire over the phone, the tire, not the installation package. I would quote the tire. Well, what's that called? Well, you know what? Let's take that's when the process to get them in. But I would quote it, and I've said before. And again, you can do the numbers yourself with these worksheets I've given you. You can sell a tire at zero profit and make money. Because if you do all these other things we're talking about, you do the installation package, you do the alignment, and you get all these tires and wheels, you're going to make money. So, okay, Joe, another one, I think. Looks like. Yes, no?
Oh, yeah, a few more. Hold on one second.
Bring them on. I'm glad we got some questions.
Thanks. No, just thanks, Kevin. But don't quote the replacement service over the phone. Don't quote the replacement service.
I just if someone calls me about a tire, I will quote the tire price, because a lot of times they're not going to come in for a tire price. So if someone calls you about, but again, we're not trying to make you guys tire stores, so to speak. This is basically what we're talking about is taking care of your existing customers.
Yeah, that's the point I want to make too, Kevin. You're in a different world a little bit, right, Kevin? With people.
Absolutely. I'm not trying to project that to anyone. What we're trying to do here is say, is this an added service that might benefit you?
Yeah, let me bring it from a different perspective. I think there's always going to be the time when people are going to call for a quote, whether it's a quote on a radiator, water pump, tire. But and you deal with that probably the same way. I would be reluctant. I agree, Kevin. Reluctant to give a price on a repair or service, whatever, without seeing the car. But in terms of what we're trying to accomplish here, we're trying to say to you, be more proactive with your existing customers. So the
That's
customer
it.
comes in.
That's it.
And the
That's it.
customer has 38,000 miles in the car, and they're coming in for a service, a 35,000 mile, 30,000 mile service. At that point in time, you have to start looking at the customer and having a conversation that whether they're going to need tires soon, that day, or in 6 months, and that be proactive. If you just do that, and like I said earlier, integrate it with your everyday process, you're going to increase your gross profit dollars. It may mean a little bit of rejuggling of your staff, workflow processes, actual workflow scheduling, but in the long run, I think it's better off for you.
And after you, and listen, and as we're saying, right now, we're talking about just doing this with your existing customers. We're doing this so you don't lose your existing customer. After you get into this for, you're in a couple of years, and you start seeing this might be a proper way to go. You can always expand that side of the business. But
Yeah,
what we're trying to do, what we're trying to project right now is don't let your customers go somewhere else when something is simple.
Yeah.
I think it's simple. It's something as simple and easy to get into as this might be. That's the only thing we're trying to say.
Yeah, and let me tell you, just one final thing here. They're given, if you look at the car, how it's evolving, they're taking away a lot of things that guys like we traditionally took care of, the engine, the engine-related systems, transmission-related systems that were kind of like we grew up with. But there's one thing they will not take away for the foreseeable future are tires and all the related systems that go along with tires: suspension, steering, drive axles, differentials, brake work, alignments, wheel balancing, everything that goes along with that tire. And let's face it, as the cars evolve, there'll be a lot of electronic work incorporated within all these systems. So it's just for me, it was a natural evolution in the way I did business, but I think it makes even more sense now.
Yeah, I think that, Joe, for us, it was an evolution. And I think today it's a necessity, or it will be shortly. I mean that.
Yeah, you're right.
Shortly, I think it will be because if you want to see EV cars, you better be selling tires right now. That's one thing you're going to see them for.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, I appreciate everyone
That's
joining us. Joe, thank you so much for joining me and helping me.
Thank you for having me. I loved it.
I appreciate you. You know that.
Yeah, I do.
Thanks everybody. If anyone, like I said, if anyone wants that stuff, be sure and email me and I will make sure that I get it out to you. Thanks again.
Wait a minute, Kevin. I think there's one more, Kevin. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Sure. I see it.
Oh, no. Thanks, Kevin and Joe. You're welcome, Daniel. You're welcome.
See you guys. Thank you all.
Guys. Have a great day. Great weekend. Take care.
Thanks again, Joseph.
Bye. Thank you.